Hello, everyone, and welcome to this funny little episode of the Ubuntu Touch Q&A, the UbiPorts Foundation show discussing the development of Ubuntu Touch and our community's questions. This episode is streamed live on July the 12th, 2025. I'm Alfred, and joining me tonight is...
Me, Mario. Marius. It's me, Mario.
There's a little bit of delay here. So,
Yeah, it might be.
yeah. But yeah, that shouldn't hold us back from having a good time. And let's start with the news about what has happened in GitLab over the last 2 weeks. And we have a few little things here that have landed. For example, documentation for file system encryption for porters is now available, which means port developers can now read up what is necessary in order to have the file system encryption enabled. It just lists a few commands that need to be taken care of, settings that need to be applied, and then off you go. Other than that, there have been a few, for example, close app when the dialog is closed without authentication in the terminal app. I haven't looked too deeply into this, if I may say so, but yeah. Let's let it load. Yeah, move home button logo file to Ubuntu Touch artwork. There's a little bit of artwork work and moving files around, a little bit of shifting, so to say. And that's about it. It's not a big week this time around, but we have a few things that will come up in the next few weeks. And also, we're planning ahead for the next release, for the Noble release, actually, where we want to release it somewhere around the middle of September or end of September, if I remember correctly. It's a rough estimate. It's a rough guess. We haven't said completely that this is going to be the end date. But right now, it looks like September is going to be the time around when we release Ubuntu Touch based on 24.04. All right. Yep. Did you want to say something, Marius?
No, I said I'm getting really excited for the Noble release. It's gonna be great to be up to date and start focusing on other things than just catching up.
Yes, indeed. Also, I think even though we're mostly concerned with bringing it over to 24.04, we still have managed to include a few little features here and there. For example, light mode and dark mode being switchable for the app and the shell, so that you can have mixed mode, dark or light theme on your phone. Or other little things that have landed over the last few years, I would almost say. Last 2 years. Yeah. How long have we been working on Noble now?
Well, since basically some weeks or months before it released, so it's over a year.
Over a year. Well, look at that. And a lot has landed in that time. And encryption, hopefully, fingers crossed, will make it also completely in time for the final release so that we can have encrypted phones.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any experiments to report on?
Yeah, so I've been doing a little bit of tinkering here and there. So some experiment has been on continuing my quest on eSIM. I now to a state where I would say it's ready to testing. It's of course really in alpha and probably won't be in the first release of Noble, but at least it's something there that you can try out, and it seems to work on the devices I've been testing it on, which is mostly Fairphone 5 and 4. other than that, I've been continuing my quest on Qt 6 browser engine of Qt web engine, together with Bushan and Gudio and multiple other people also working on getting Qt 6 components ported out. So now the Lumiri toolkit is getting to a state where it's actually really usable now. Same with the browser. I fixed a couple of issues with native rendering or GPU acceleration, so now it runs smoothly. So that's something that's coming up real soon, at least a really rough demo. Of course, it's as I said, rough, but it's at least something to try out, and you can now use it on pretty much every website that I have tried it on. I even included with a newer version of Qt Web Engine, the newest one. It's almost up to date with the latest stable Chromium. Also, I have been fixing a couple of bugs with ULT, and also experimenting with Wi-Fi, which is voice over Wi-Fi, which is an interesting take on it. Also been experimenting of trying to make Wi-Fi actually in user space. So that's interesting, because then it opens up for actually, in theory, devices that don't even support voice over LTE. You can trick the device to think that it is running over Wi-Fi, even if it's running over LTE. So that's because that's kind of interesting, because VoLTE has path through the LTE system, because it has priority and something like priority data and all that. But if you have Wi-Fi, there is a fixed endpoint, and it's just a normal SIP connection between. So that's kind of cool. Which means that, yeah, devices that doesn't really support Wi-Fi, in theory, should be able to actually support it. But that's also a little bit speculation on my part.
Well,
yeah.
But at least something. Hey, look at that. Didn't expect the voice over Wi-Fi to be a thing tonight.
Yeah, it is easier than I thought. Like, voice over LTE is big and honestly not a great thing, but voice over Wi-Fi is relatively simple, surprisingly enough, because it's technically just a SIP connection.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Well, let's piggyback on the SIP connection and make something out of that. What do you think?
Yeah, it would be amazing to try, especially on the. I'm not sure how it is else in the world, but especially in Europe, most of the carriers already support voice over Wi-Fi, so that's really nice.
Well, didn't expect that to come out of your mouth tonight, so looking forward to that.
Yeah.
All right. We do have some application updates also, if I get the correct window on the stage here. We do have a few updates to apps here, and that includes, starting with those three at the bottom, uWolf, Ubidius, Port, and Fluffy Chat Web. Those three have been brought over by Chromium OS Guy, and Fluffy Chat Web is a Matrix client for basically a web app, which allows you to access your Matrix account and chat with people.
Oh, that also reminds me, one of my experiments has been Flutter. So maybe you can get native Fluffy Chat.
Look at that. Hey, cool stuff coming out of you tonight.
Yeah, been cooking.
He's been cooking. Okay. Ubidius port is an unofficial web app for the YouTube frontend in videos, and also by Chromium OS guy, and allows you to watch YouTube without ads, without tracking, and also what do we have here? Yeah, Ubidius. Uwolf, also by Chromium OS guy, has been updated. It's a browser that builds on LibreWolf. If you take a look at this here, a few screenshots, including even some benchmarks, it seems. Or yeah,
Ooh,
look at that.
more browsers.
More browsers. We are
Yeah.
running out of browsers. We need more browsers.
We need more browsers. We need all of them.
All the browsers. Amazefish has also been updated. So companion app to different kinds of smartwatches. And it adds initial support for the Zappos devices, tested with Balance and GTR3 Pro. Refactorings, and also adding support for the Ubuntu Touch user metrics. So that means that Amazefish will most probably give you little cues and hints on your lock screen now, which means the lock screen can give you information about what's on the phone, on the smartwatch, what's happening there, and makes it look very nicely integrated.
Yeah.
The Bookworm has also been updated. The Bible study and reference material app has been updated to the latest revision, so you can do your Bible studies. The next one, Dropping Letters. Dropping Letters has been moved over to a new package, and also it's been adapted for Ubuntu Touch Focal, which is a good old classic Ubuntu Touch game, Dropping Letters. It's been around since the beginning, I would almost say. And it's been now revamped to run on Focal. Also, we have two remaining apps. We have the spreadsheet app, offline HTML-based spreadsheet app with Excel-like formula functionality. And it's been fixing a few issues here so that your cut and copy and paste works properly. And yeah, the last app, Time Management, by Calin CIT Services. So, time management app for tracking your Udo time tracking. This is what it looks like. It's a time manager, timesheets, how to add a timesheet, and your projects. This looks nice.
Yeah.
And even though
Look at
those
that.
are those are reoccurring applications, but they always leave me flabbergasted.
Yeah. It's always
So
great to see updates.
indeed. So those were the apps for this round, and that means we should head over to the sponsors. What do you say?
Yeah. Let's go.
All right. So we have to thank our sponsors, and also we have to put our banner up here. Smooth, Voila, Pine64, OneStein, DigitalOcean, Netlify, Odoo Community Association, Private Internet Access, Gardner and Associates Consulting Inc., Tixia, GitLab, Cloudrun, CodeLutin, Gandhi.net, and Brex Technologies. Thank you for sponsoring us and keeping this boat afloat. Without you, we wouldn't be here where we are today. And also, we have not only sponsors, but also patrons. And let's go through those. Atheel, Adam Havelka, Conspire, Daniel Franchuk, Heather Ellsworth, Jose Angel Escura, JT, Caleb Clark, Kenneth Drew, Luigi 311, Marty McFly Jr., Michael Kerner, Mr. T10001, Omegas, Pavel Arnost, PK, Robin Hood, Rondarius, Spendierhose, and Xelix1234. Xelix, oh my god. I'm running out of breath. I'm getting old.
No, you're not getting old. It's a
What
lie.
do you say?
It's a lie. You're not getting old.
Oh, that's now you want to be kind to me. What's your game here? What do you want? What do you want from me?
Nothing.
There must be something behind your ambition.
Can't I just be kind?
Okay, I'll let you be kind. Uh, all right. So thanks again for all the sponsors and patrons. And also, if you want to help us, go over to ubiports.com/donate. And we also have a little fun shop over at ubiports.com/shop where you can get your super nice coffee mugs and Yumi socks. Uh,
And plushies.
and plushies. And plushies.
Yeah,
Very important.
those are amazing.
Exactly. You want to cuddle them all the time. It's a
Yeah,
guarantee.
it's a guarantee. It's cuddle guaranteed.
Cuddle guarantee. Exactly. All right. So we do have a few questions, or actually just one question this time around from the forum. So for the live listeners and live chat, please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let us know. And Vlad has asked us, or it's rather a statement, more a statement rather than a question. Hello, still happy thanks to Ubuntu Touch. I've done a few snap tests. For KeyPass XC, I couldn't get it to work. I just wanted to highlight an interesting post, I think, from the forum that suggests listing applications that work well under OT. There's a link. I'll try to drop this real quick in the live chat. And it's all about getting snaps to run on this one. It's this link. It's all about snaps and how well they run, if they run at all. Firefox is known not to work at the moment, but I have something coming up there. I'm basically taking Maria's subsurface patches and just cleaning them and polishing them so that they can be included in main now. And yeah, but there are other apps. And also, interestingly, I've tried KeyPass XC and it works for me on the Jingpad. So maybe it's a device specific thing happening here. I don't know. Sounds odd, but at least it works on my end. So you can get to your KeyPass via Snap and open your password safe. Look at that. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. Yeah. Please also note down your device when you do snap testing.
Exactly. Yes, that would be helpful. Just so that we know what's going on.
Yeah. It doesn't if you don't want to share the exact device, you can just share the chipset because that's what you are interested in.
Exactly. Also, combination of which chipset with which drivers and whatnot is very important to know so that we can figure out what's happening here if something goes wrong.
Yeah, that's kind of a thing with Android-based devices. Every type of driver has some sort of quirks and some sort of bugs that you have to work around.
Oh, I see a question from live chat here that I want to take real quick. I like the Ubuntu Touch very, very much, but why can't we install dApps without a container? That is because our rootfs, our file system, our operating system is read-only, immutable by default, not modifiable without manual intervention. And that means that if you install any dApp application via apt on your rootfs, on your main system, then we cannot guarantee that the next update that we release works on your phone because you've modified the contents of the system. If they don't match what we release, you are on your own. And you are really on your own because if you do not follow the basic guide of installing Libertine, there's not much we can do for you. But there are alternatives to that. Snaps are one for that matter. And yeah.
Yeah, there's always a thing when I get this question. I usually say, is that imagine you're on a train ride in the middle of nowhere. You need your phone and you need to install an app. Then app wouldn't be the right solution for that, because app, as we know, always doesn't guarantee that your phone will boot or function after that. That's something that we can guarantee more with immutable system, because we know that each device, every single device, has the exact same root file system and with the same version. So that
Indeed.
if you need your phone to emergency or something, it will always be functioning for you. If you are, of course, unstable, Devil can, as Devil is, it can break. But with stable, we guarantee that will always work.
Actually, that very much reminds me of what happened. Oh wow, that's a bit of echo here.
Oh,
Weird. So a few weeks ago, I was running around in Vienna and upgrading my phone on Noble using apt, because I was like, I wanted to have the newest changes immediately without waiting. And then my phone broke, right? So that is something that just with apt, you're there's always the risk of breaking something. And if you just place the files of the rootfs in a directory and don't touch it, it's way safer than having everything intertwined into each other, and you can't tear them apart anymore. That's basically it. If you're setting things in stone. The operating system we release is set in stone, so that we know that the software that we released is actually on the phone, and it's not that intertwined mess like that you have with Debian packaging usually. I see an interesting question here. This V1 overlay policy version encryption issue, is this fine to be used globally for daily drivers? I suppose it has to do with the documentation that I released for setting up encryption. So there are two things, or there's one particular difference between version A and version B of the kernel. So with a kernel version below 5.4, the encryption system is using V1 policies. The old initially released policy version for fscript, which means that the key is stored in the user keyring, uh, and not in the file system keyring. So only this particular user has access to the files. Not even root has access to files on the V1 policy. Not even root can access your encrypted files there. But that also means that things like Docker will not work anymore, or SSH for that matter. So the change was with kernel 5.4 and up. The keyring is now in the file system keyring, or the key gets stored in the file system keyring, and every user gets access to the files once the user has unlocked the directory, which means that the issue with Docker isn't exposed anymore, and you can use your phone to the full potential there is. It's sad that it's like that, but the newer generations of phones don't have this issue anymore, and I think it's a very fine trade-off between old and new, so that we can at least have some way of encrypting our phones with our current system. Okay, what do we have here otherwise? Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of questions about porting, and this is definitely not the right time or place to ask this. If you have any questions regarding porting, please head over to the Telegram channel, ureports_porting, so that you can get help there.
do you also have a question about running Docker natively about Ubuntu Touch? I think you have been maybe experimenting a little bit with that.
I have, yes, and actually I've succeeded with the snap. to the point where I was able to run the Hello World successfully. So it's a little involved. It needs a snap, and then it needs a configuration change. But once the configuration change is there, it pretty much works out of the box. So I mean, it also involves a little bit of kernel tweaking. If the device kernel doesn't have all the features enabled for Docker, you still need to enable those. But otherwise, Docker pretty much works. I've had good success. I wouldn't say great success, but good success testing it. And yeah, but there is this thing with Docker in the snap. It doesn't have network access because the Docker snap expects NF tables, and that's a mixed environment between NF tables and IP tables, and that doesn't work in this case. So yeah, maybe an apt installed Docker would work probably better in this case, but this is something that can be fixed on the Docker side, so I don't see a problem here. Yeah.
There's also one, if you can install Android apps.
Android apps on Ubuntu Touch. Yeah, we have Waydroid.
Yeah.
Waydroid allows us to run Android applications directly on Ubuntu Touch or any other Linux distribution for that matter, natively with very little performance impact, if anything. So it's not very noticeable. It's maybe sometimes graphically, but not necessarily, in terms of CPU intensiveness. So CPU performance should be the same between Ubuntu Touch and Waydroid. And yeah.
Actually, what the Devil Evil is saying here about the Ubuntu Touch being a monster being on a Amino server, if Docker would work with network access, this is actually something that I have been experimenting with myself, because I've been trying to use Ubuntu Touch as an Home Assistant interface. So you have like the touch screen and everything come from Ubuntu Touch, and then it runs in this case it's remotely, because the Home Assistant runs on a different server. But actually having Home Assistant run inside a Docker container on Ubuntu Touch, where you have the user interface and everything, and you can use the interface, you can like mount it on the wall on a tablet or something, then you can use that as your main gateway to your house. That something like that would be amazing.
Indeed. All right. Okay, what else do we have here? Yeah, I see this one. This very important in my opinion. Aruba Landra says, but I have had much better success with LXD containers on Ubuntu Touch. Me too. LXD containers work very well on Ubuntu Touch, to the point where I can even run. I do think I have a Fedora container and an OpenSUSE container on this particular phone here in front of me. Wait a second. Let me see. So we do sudo lexc list needs the pin.
Actually, a kind of funny thing here is that we do run the Android drivers in an LXC container, so it is highly optimized for actually doing that. And LXD is basically LXC with extra spice.
Extra sauce. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I do have Fedora, I do have Nix, I have a Noble and an OpenSUSE container on this phone right here. And I also have network access. So with LXD, and also if you want Debian applications to be installed without Libertine, you can use LXD very well. It even supports system services. So you can have your Nginx running in a container, which just auto starts with the container when it boots up.
Doesn't Libertine technically also have a LXC backend?
It does, yes, and it does pretty much the same thing. It sets up a container using like C commands, then it sets up the user, all the environment stuff, and in the end, you should be able to use it properly.
Yeah, I like that. Run Docker inside LXD.
What did you say?
Someone says you run Docker in LXC privilege. Technically,
Yes,
I guess you can.
you probably
And then
can. Yes,
you can run LXD inside the Docker again.
yeah, LXD allows nesting. So I mean, it's highly insecure, but you can do nesting so that you have a container in a container. That works.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, seems like LXD on Ubuntu Touch has left us with a good impression here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're happy as well. All right. What do you say? Should we end this episode?
Yeah. It seems like we are out of the question. I think that's the cue.
That's it. All right. We're going home.
Yeah, we're going home. Yeah, well, at least I am going home.
Yeah,
Soon
definitely.
at least.
Soon. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us tonight. And hopefully, you're going to stay healthy until the next time. We're trying at least. I'm trying. That's for sure.
Too.
And let's see each other in 2 weeks.
Yeah, let's do that.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.